Welcome to the Heroic Investing Show. As first responders, we risk our lives every day. Our financial security is under attack. Our pensions are in a state of emergency. A single on-duty incident can alter or erase our earning potential instantly and forever. We are the heroes of society. We are self-reliant and we need to take care of our own financial future. The Heroic Investing Show is our toolkit of business and investing tactics on our mission to financial freedom.
Welcome to the Heroic Investing Show, a podcast for first responders, members of the military, veterans, and anyone looking to improve their financial future and gain some freedom with their time. We teach America's heroes how to build passive income, build their startup business, and safely grow wealth through real estate and other alternative investments. We help current and prior first responders put protections, systems, and a team in place to help them build a life where they can focus on their passion, that service or product that they are uniquely gifted to share with others, making the world a better place for all of us. My name is Gary Pinkerton, and I co-host this show with Jason Hartman. This is episode 229, Heroic Investing 229. So on last episode 228, you heard me on the Tactical Living podcast. And today we're turning it around, and I had the pleasure of having Clint and Ashlie on my podcast. So if you haven't made it over to Tactical Living yet, you've got to hear Ashlie and her husband, Clint Walton. So their goal is to serve first responders and members of the military. And obviously, that's the same audience that we try to serve here on Heroic Investing. So please go over and check out their podcast as well. So Ashlie is a certified life and business personal coach, and her husband, Clint, is a full-time police officer in Southern California. And he works in an elite tactical unit that he wasn't able to talk much about. But on their podcast, the two of them talk about things like what it's like to be the wife of a police officer. And Clint joins many of the podcasts to give his perspective as well. Together, they share stories and recommendations that work well to live a balanced life. Whether you're looking for tactical approaches for health and fitness, learning spiritual discipline, improving intimacy, or building knowledge around current business challenges, this podcast is for you. And they're just an awesome group to spend some time together with on podcasts. Well, Heroic Investors, welcome back. We have an amazing show, and today you get 2 for 1 because I'm interviewing both Ashlie and her husband, Clint Walton. So maybe I shouldn't say and her husband. So Clint is the ticket to be able to get on Heroic Investing. I guess if we're getting technical here, I don't really follow my rules too much that you have to be a first responder or a member of the military. You just got to add value to him. But Clint is a 12-year active police officer. And Ashlie, his beautiful wife, who just hosted me on her show, Tactical Living, which just, by the way, reached the top 105 at iTunes. She is a certified life coach and has been doing that for over 2 years. And one of the amazing things is both their show, Tactical Living, and her coaching focuses on first responders, their support systems, and military members to facilitate the process of developing tactical habits and routines that show you how to truly have it all. And so all of you on Heroic Investing know I'm extremely passionate about people finding their unique genius, setting up their lives in a way in which they get back time to do what's really important. And I think that's in the 1-minute tagline that I say at the beginning of our show. So we're in a great place here. Ashlie and Clint, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having us. We appreciate you.
We're so excited. And as you listen to this, I just want to share how warm and just welcome this energy is right now. That doesn't always happen with a lot of guests. And as Gary just shared, he just got off of being interviewed on our show. So I love just sharing this energy and sharing this space. And we're just so honored to be able to be on this show with you.
It is fun, and I appreciate you saying that. So here's what happened. Clint is going to be seriously on the hot seat here because I was just in an awesome interview by Ashlie, which I'll air right before this one when we're airing this. And so you'll already know what I'm talking about when I say this. But Ashlie and I got this thing going on with a great conversation, and poor Clint didn't get to talk at all. So Clint, we are dying to hear your story. Where, first of all, are you serving? And do you have a specialty there on the force? And what's the future?
So I can't specifically bring up the agency I work for, but I'll just leave it at I work in Southern California.
Awesome.
Yes, I like
it.
Behind the curtain.
I love it.
So I work for a very busy agency in Southern California.
Okay.
And I've been there for 12 years, which coincides almost exactly with how long Ashlie and I have been married. We actually were married days before I started the police academy. So our marriage has known nothing other than being a police wife and police officer. And so in working where I work and being exposed to what I have over the years, it's just been, I could go through, you name it, I've pretty much seen it, unfortunately. And I've brought that home with me. I've been through the mud and the muck. And when I come home, I just shut down. And then until about 2 years ago, I had this eye-opening experience of like, this can't be all there is for me. And that's when Ashlie and I had some really hard conversations and eye-opening conversations with each other and said something needs to change. And that's where that change really came to fruition for us through Leo Warriors and our podcast, Tactical Living. And the more and more we're doing outreach and really getting to know people throughout this world, even of first responders and military service members, it's such a neglected community. We neglect each other. We do this based on this societal mindset of, well, it's not me. That's not me. I'm not the one who's going to go commit suicide right now. I'm not the one who is going through these problems with my own marriage, so I don't need this help. But over time, it stacks up.
Yeah. And
you slowly start to withdraw, and you just don't recognize it. I didn't recognize any of it. I had no clue that I was combating CPTSD. And I would go home, lay on the couch, turn on the TV, zone out the rest of the world, which completely exonate our communication.
Sure.
And it just evolved from there. And the more and more we outreach to people and we hear this feedback of, well, I don't want to have that label of PTSD or CPTSD. And it's something that it's true. We don't want to be labeled with that.
Of course.
Because that's career ending.
Yeah. Right.
And instead of having that label and that stigma being placed on us, that's why we're devoted to crushing that stigma of mental health is so much more than CPTSD, PTSD. It's like having a broken arm. A broken arm can heal. So can PTSD. And that's why we actually started coining the terminology of PTSI compared to PTSD.
And PTSI is?
Post-traumatic stress injury.
There you go. That's awesome. So, that one word makes a big difference in that. You know, it's really interesting, and I'm embarrassed to say I've not thought about the similarity here, but I had an Air Force officer who worked for me at the Pentagon one of my last two tours, and he was a F-16 pilot, and his close friend had gotten assigned to one of those Connex boxes at an Air Force base out west where he was flying drones, right? And he would go to battle every day and do some horrific things, and armed drones, and then he would come home and go back to normal life, right? And so when you prepare, especially the Navy, because we do it, at wartime or not, we're going to deploy these ships for 6 months at a time. So there's this whole workup process for it. And then everyone's focused on experiencing the same thing. And then you come home and you have some counseling kind of stuff to get you back out of that if there's any issues. It's just whole routine. The Army didn't have that, and the Air Force didn't have it. They figured it out over, eventually after this 10-year war we've been in. But then you come back home and none of that stuff's there. And now it's kind of hitting me. that you guys are, those of you that go to work in war zones as police officers are doing the same thing this guy was, and his life was falling apart, whereas he could handle it very easily when he was, deployed with his unit because everybody had the support naturally. But when he would go and pick up his kids from school and go to a birthday party and then come back and do that job again, and then, like that switching on and off wasn't working. And yet you guys do the same thing. And so I just kind of go back to, hey, the people who listen to this show, we're all the same. We're all experiencing the same kinds of things. So 2 years ago, something, that really started to change for you, and you guys started this up. Ashlie, talk about kind of your background and how 2 years ago things changed really for you personally as well.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. So I had managed a pediatric practice for 13 years, and it was a smaller practice. And as you can imagine, we spend more time at work than we do at home with our own families. So you definitely build a close unit. And I was very fortunate, or so I thought, to have built that close relationship with the doctor that I had worked for. And out of the blue, one day, shortly after my mom passed away, she came into my office and said that I had capped out my salary and I wasn't going to be incentivized anymore financially for the services I was providing, and that I either needed to quit or she was going to retire and then I would be left without a job. And I'm like, what just happened? And I remember feeling like I was slapped in the face, because this is a woman who I looked up to and admired in so many different ways, who always told me I was family, Clint was family. We went over to each other's houses, like shared a lot of intimacy together that seemed that it was further extended than just an employee-employer relationship. And I remember telling myself, like, I do not ever want to feel this way again. Like, what do I do? And at the same time, things with Clint and I was recognizing we're drifting apart. And it was because we had become so complacent with this day in, day out, the minutia of the way that the dynamics work. When you are in a relationship with a first responder or a military service member, you just become used to it. And that becomes your normal. But I remember asking myself, like, is this the foundation that I want our marriage to stand on? Like, is this what I want my life to look like in terms of business? I had done everything the right way. I went to school, got my MBA, like married the love of my life. I have 5 brothers. I'm the only girl. And yet why does it still feel like this can't be it? Like, I'm not satisfied. I'm not happy. So I spent thousands of dollars and decided to hire a life coach. I actually listened to a podcast, and I felt like I had gained such an intimate relationship with this man through my speakers, and not in an unhealthy way, intimate. And I'm sure as you're consuming this material here, when you're having a one-on-one interaction, it almost feels like you're very involved. Usually we're in our cars, we're somewhere really solo when we are consuming content like this. And that's how my relationship with this particular coach started. And I'm like, you know what? Nothing else is working. I did the school, like I did the job, like nothing else is going to help. Why don't I try this? He had put out a program where he was looking to get new clients, and it was an application process. And to make a long story short, I was one of the 7 people that were chosen. Still cost thousands of dollars, which was a quote discount, right? And I started the process of coaching with this man. And in retrospect, having the 5 brothers and being the only girl, it was really important for me to connect with a coach that I felt very comfortable with. And in this particular, the dynamics of this relationship, I need somebody to be very hard on me and to not like BS things or beat around the bush. He was very direct with me and called me out for a lot of things, which I valued and appreciated. And in doing that, I had him to hold me accountable week after week, and my life changed in a matter of 4 weeks. In a matter of 4 weeks, I'm like, okay, I know that I want to be a life coach myself. I know that I'm never going to work under somebody again in my entire life. And I know that the people that I would literally want to take out on vacation with me every day of my life are first responders and military service members. These are the people I connect with. These are the people that I communicate the best with, and the people whose energy I feed off of and I thrive off of on a routine basis. And so we birthed Leo Warriors. That's our only baby after 12 years, apart from 3 Pomeranians. And we started to coach first responders. And we did it the right way. We joke a lot about like these selfie coaches who are trying to sell you products and services by posting some selfie of like a shaker bottle with themselves. And not to discredit them, but there's a big difference between somebody who is a certified coach and somebody who's just training under like MLM material. And for me, I know that having the experience from a coach who was a true professional in the field and who had those credentials, and the ones who BS, who I've also wasted tons of money on, I know the difference. And having understood that myself as a client made a huge difference in the type of services that I knew I wanted to give to other people.
That's awesome. I talk about all the time that one of my lessons learned is that the only true scarce resource that any of us have is time, right? Everything else you can come up with. Like there's a way to solve everything else out there. If you have the money, you can solve all the rest of the things very easily, but it's easy to solve the money one too, right? You just need a good idea or know somebody who does and add value to the world, and then it's solved. But the thing you can never do is get back the time. And so learning as soon as you can from a certified life coach why you're here is really important. And so you get going in the right direction. Like all of us are on the wrong path at different times in life. But as soon as we get pointed in the right direction, like pull out the compass every once in a while, make sure you're headed the right direction, but you got to know where to point it first. And so, I was 46 years old when I first worked with a coach to do that. You don't need to wait that long. And I'm sure there's people in their 70s who finally got on the right path. Colonel Sanders is very inspirational to me because that man was like 73 when he finally got moving, right? And man, I got a lot to do between now and 73, and then I get to start at his level. So that's pretty exciting. Ashlie, you asked me an awesome question on your show, and I want to turn the tables, but this time I get to ask it. Well, I'll ask it to both of you, but Clint, you got to talk first because I'm keeping you on the hot seat. 12 months from today, with this amazing business and amazing podcast you guys have, and your amazing family, like where are you 12 months from today?
I'll be honest with you. I see us helping so many people more than we have, and building a platform even bigger to help more. And that's the goal behind what we're truly doing, is we want to help so many people.
And I'll elaborate on this a little bit more because my dear husband might have forgotten, but he and I actually just sat down and strategically wrote out exactly what 12 months is going to look like for both of us.
We did. I did forget completely.
Here's the
about
professional
that,
answer.
Yeah. Here's the Clint answer. Now I'll let Ashlie continue.
And we will be in South Africa on a rhino reserve because that is Clint's favorite animal, and South Africa is our most cherished and precious place to visit in the entire world. And we will be getting ready to host an event, probably our very, very first mastermind for military service members, first responders, and their families, all while having somebody take care of our house, which I have to add, one of the things on my list, I very much believe in the law of attraction, but not in the way that it's been like manipulated and sold and publicized. There's so much when it comes to neuroplasticity and the neural pathways that we're able to create. And in doing simple acts, like literally drawing out what your next 12 months are going to look like, if you were to revisit that, like I'm going to explain to you right now, one of those things on my next 12 months was to have, Clint is also on the mounted unit in the department that he works in. And we haven't had his horse at our house. He's had to had it, like it stays at a friend's house. And one of those things was to bring his horse home. And I kid you not, we are bringing his horse home in 3 weeks. And I have contractors at my house right now, like digging up the land and getting everything in place. So it's just pretty incredible what actually happens when you take these thoughts and you put them out there into the world, and something as simple as tangibly writing them down on a piece of paper.
I completely agree with you. Dr. Joe Dispenza is one of the most amazing people that I've studied, right? And he finally got me across that threshold for meditation that actually works and is consistent. And one of the things that's in my vision statement is to go to South Africa in the next 4 years. So
well, imagine that. Now we're talking about it.
There you go. Something is the path is getting set up for me. That's incredible. So why is South Africa your most precious place to visit?
The penguins, 100%. The first time we visited Africa in general was to be able to see the South African penguin. That's my favorite animal in the entire world. And we never thought that we would go to South Africa and fall in love with the nuances of the culture and the people. We think of Africa as like this dry, desolate land with like people who you won't be able to engage, communicate, and connect with. And it's completely opposite.
Wow.
Of that. These people are some of the most in cut we've ever been able to visit. We just got back from a trip to Morocco, and the people there were just the same. And the food is amazing. Of course, there's good and bad anywhere that we go, but we're creating positive neural pathways, so we don't go that way. Otherwise, we would stay at home probably all of the time. But apart from the animals, it's definitely the engagement and being able to experience the culture and learn from people who we get to take with us when we come back home, in the sense that we're much more humbled and we're not like these spoiled brat Americans, which I have to add, I believe that most of us are. And it's just so life enriching to be able to experience that.
And it's really cool. We've actually met a few people from South Africa over here, like through our trainings and stuff. And one guy I really connected with, he's a coach. And he's planning almost an adventure coaching practice where you go out into the bush in South Africa off of his macadamia nut farm, and you take horses out and you just go spend like in a group setting where it's like coaching, but it's almost adventure coaching. And it's a really cool concept. And we're looking forward to getting involved with that too. So,
wow. Well, put me on the list. That's awesome. That is amazing stuff.
Absolutely.
So what does it look like to work with you, Ashlie, as a certified life coach? Meaning, like,
so,
is it do you meet in person? Do you meet, I'm imagining you meet over Zoom like I meet with all my clients, but how long is the process? Is it different for every person? That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, so typically we work together for 3 months, and I don't mean this in like my nose is above the air kind of way, but I know that everybody that reaches out to me, I can't serve. I can't work with everybody. And if people are coming to me and on our clarity call, if they're not willing to be open and honest with themselves, I can't help them. I know that I can't be of service to them. So initially we do the clarity call first. And this is both with Clint and myself. And sometimes that means that, like, you know what, Gary, you're an awesome person. I love you, but I don't think that I can serve you in the best way possible. However, I do have these 7 other coaches that are really dear friends of mine who I trust with my life that I can refer you to. This person has this credential and so forth. Would you like to meet one of them? And if that doesn't happen and we both feel comfortable with moving forward with the process, it's typically a 3-month. And yes, it's once a week, a Zoom call. I believe that connecting face to face, I do a lot of nonverbal body language study, and it's the best way for me to serve somebody by being able to communicate with them while I'm looking at them. And apart from that, we also have a private Facebook group that's set up and check-in. So I'm very strict when it comes to accountability. If we discuss something and you tell me you're going to do it, I want to make sure. And not because I think that I'm your mom. I'm not anybody's mom except for my 3 little Pomeranians. But it's very important for us to have somebody hold us accountable, and then to also be a little cheerleader in our corner. We all need people saying, I'm proud of you. I don't know how many times as adults we don't get to hear those words. And it's something so empowering when we do have somebody to build that intimate connection with. And I mean, I am long-term friends with everybody that I have ever coached in my entire career as a coach. I think that's very important to be able to, again, have people that I want to work with, that I know that I would feel comfortable with going on a vacation with.
That's awesome. So I think it's a great credibility statement for the coaching program that you guys are doing, that you're very clear on your own best client and an individual that you're going to be most successful with, and you only work with those. Like having the courage to turn down people in the world of service and sales, to me is a sign of maturity, and it's a sign that what you're doing is working, because people who are really hungry and starving for any kind of clients would take anyone. And I've been in that situation before I realized that it's not a good idea to do that. And so I fire people all the time as well, which is not hire them, which is what you just said. and I think that's amazing. So, hey, before I forget out there, just as a little funny transition here, any of you who are you're constantly going back and forth with President Trump over Instagram, tell him, get on Ashlie's request to be on their radio show, because I want to say I was on the podcast before Trump, and I made it real, so he joined. So that's what I wanted. That's how I want it to work out. Guys, we're coming somewhere near the end here. We went a little bit long on your show, but first, before I forget, how do they find you and about what you're doing on this amazing journey you guys started 2 years ago?
You know, Gary, we're not too fond of social media, if I'm completely honest, and a lot of that is because of the intimacy factor that surrounds that. But when you have a business, especially in today's modern world, it's inevitable. So the easiest way for me is to literally shoot us a direct message, because I believe that there is something much more deeper than a profile picture when we're communicating on a platform like Facebook. And I want to know who I'm talking with and who I'm engaging with. It's Ashlie, Ashlie, or Clint, Clint Walton, and direct message either one of us. We have a community and a Facebook group called Police, Fire, Military, and Families. And this is a very tight-knit community. It's unlike anything that we've ever seen online. That's why we created it, to where people can come in a confidential and held space to be able to talk about the things that we don't so openly talk about with our coworkers, with our bosses, sometimes with our families. And imagine it like a coach, to where I'm in there poking you with little needles to get you to answer questions. And people are opening up in ways that we've never seen before. And the amount of outreach that we get from that, it's so inspiring and so empowering. And it's what charges us to keep going forward with it. However, in saying that, we're very strict about the people that we let into our group. And as you listen to this, if you feel that we're a fit to be able to join our community, we would love that. But it all starts with like a real human connection, one-on-one.
Yeah.
So you can shoot either one of us a direct message and let us know where you're coming in from, and we can start to build that communication. And we would love to have you in our group.
One of the things I love about the two of you is that you're 100% both in this thing. And Clint, I don't know how you do that with with your day job, but I'm curious also from your side, thinking about, you're walking in those shoes as a first responder. Like, what advice would you give to others who are thinking about starting some passion on the side while they're still doing their job, or transitioning, like getting ready to transition if it's inevitably coming that direction? What advice would you have for them?
And I have to credit Ashlie so much, and she does all the hard work. I do what I can, and she's just amazing in everything that she does. So I have to give her most of the credit. But the advice that I could give, honestly, and it's probably the simplest advice: shut off the damn TV.
Yeah.
Throw
it away, actually.
And yeah, exactly. And you hit the nail on the head when you said study. Start utilizing your time. Take back your time from the drain of social media, from TV, from stuff that is not giving you anything in life. All it is draining you as a person.
Yeah. And I think I would add to that, start to be conscious about what circles you're traveling in, right? Listen to Jim Rohn when he said you're the sum total of 5 people you spend the time around, right?
Yep.
We moved here to New Jersey, and the first couple of years we had this amazing social life. We were a little bit younger, and really connected up with, ironically, all the first responders that were in our neighborhood and our circle of friends. But then I started to alienate people, and I didn't really realize I was doing it. But after a couple of years, we didn't go out with any of those people anymore. They didn't call us anymore. And it was because, we were having fun socially, but I wasn't moving the football on what was really important to me, which was, improving my ability to help other people and my business and our strong relationships with our children. I mean, none of that stuff was happening when we were hanging at the bars, listening to music. So I'm not saying you have to give up all the fun things in life, but being in the right circles, and like you said, TV is a huge part of that. Ashlie, you're the expert here. What have we not talked about that we need to talk about before the end of the show?
One thing that I want to point out is how important it is for us to give ourselves permission to be able to fill up our own cups first, especially as you listen to this, if you are active military service or active as a first responder. And even if you're not, if you still carry anything with you, which I'm sure that you do, it's okay for you to need to be selfish. And I use that in the most blessed term possible, because it's super important for us to find things that we can do on a daily basis, typically first thing every single day, to be able to pour into ourselves and fill up our own cups so much to where we have those things to be able to devote and pour into other people instead of it being the other way. Because what happens is we can often get depleted when we think that we're caring for other people, we're helping other people. We can't say no, they're my friend, like name something, right? But when we have the ability to give everything to ourselves first and to maximize our capacity and perform at the utmost optimized way, then we have endless capability to be able to do the same and provide value and give and pour into other people. And I think that's really important for us to be able to allow ourselves the permission to say no to other people if it's not in service of us, being in service of ourselves first.
Being truthful and honest to yourself so that you can serve more people. That's an awesome way to end this. Clint and Ashlie, that was amazing. Thank you so much for joining me on my show and let me be on yours.
Thank you so much, Gary.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening. Please be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes. Be sure to check out the show's specific website and our general website, hartmanmedia.com, for appropriate disclaimers and terms of service. Remember that guest opinions are their own, and if you require specific legal or tax advice or advice in any other specialized area, please consult an appropriate professional. And we also very much appreciate you reviewing the show. Please go to iTunes or Stitcher Radio or whatever platform you're using and write a review for the show. We would very much appreciate that. And be sure to make it official and subscribe so you do not miss any episodes. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.